Hi everybody, thank you for joining me today. My name's Tori. This is going to be a 60-minute yoga class focusing on working our hamstrings and eventually working our way into splits pose. And I know splits can be a very advanced move, but there's kind of levels for everyone today, and especially if you know your hamstrings aren't very open, I would recommend using a strap. You could also use a towel or like a t-shirt, and then if you have two blocks, and you can kind of set those up towards the front of your mat. If you don't have blocks and you feel like you might need them, you can use like a couple of thick books or just anything about this height. I like something that's a little bit sturdier, like these foam blocks. So just kind of set your props out to the side. We'll start using them about halfway through. And let's get ready to go. So we'll start seated any way that's comfortable for you on your mat. Trying to sit up nice and tall, and also thinking about, I've been trying to think about this as I'm sitting in my chair at my desk, but feeling like your abdominals can kind of like lift up and support the upper half of your body. And here we're being really mindful of how we're sitting, so you probably already feel taller and longer, but a lot of times when we start to sit, we kind of get this really like concave shape and everything's collapsing into our low back. So trying to connect your breath and your abdominals and think of just this lifted and supported feeling through your spine. And as you're breathing in and out through the nose, feeling maybe almost like your breath is kind of like an ocean wave. And you know how each wave kind of takes a little bit of sand back with it when it goes back out. So feel like this wave of your breath, and maybe even a slightly audible sound, is kind of removing any sort of lingering chatter in the mind and allowing you to find just a little bit more stillness. I think especially with home workouts too, it's hard to just like dedicate this singular time and space to be here and feel like you've fully arrived. So just give yourself a few moments here. Allow yourself to sink into this moment here and now, not worrying about anything going on around you. On an inhale, we'll reach the hands around and up, watching the palms touch overhead. And then drawing the hands down to the center of the chest, and bowing our heads slightly in gratitude for ourselves for showing up. You can take a moment to set an intention for your practice here if you'd like. We're going to be focusing on the flexibility through the legs and through the hips, so that can kind of maybe be part of your intention, just being open to whatever happens. And then we'll release the hands down by the sides, letting your chin drop down towards your chest, keeping your shoulders open. We'll just kind of roll the head from one side and then roll forward and over to the other side. And then meeting back into the middle here. Inhale to lift the head up to stack on the rest of the spine. We'll reach the arms around and up, interlace the fingers overhead, press the palms out and away, reach and lengthen. And then exhale, draw your chin to your chest, press your hands out and away. And then inhale, reach up, lengthen, push into the arms, extend out through your elbows. And then exhale, round forward. And inhale, lift. Good. And then one more time, we'll round forward. Release the hands down and bring them kind of out to the sides. Roll the shoulders down and stack the spine up nice and tall. If you're sitting with your legs crossed, we'll go ahead and cross the other direction. You can bring your hands to your knees, or just kind of, if you're sitting in a different position, whatever works for you. We're going to exhale, round through the back, look towards your navel, And then inhale, pull the shoulders down, the back open, look up towards the ceiling. Thinking of this like a seated cat and cow, exhaling to round through the back, and then inhaling to pull forward, open through the chest, look up. And then one more time, rounding, reaching back, feeling the stretch between your shoulder blades. And then inhale, pull forward. And come back to center here. Good. Let's sweep our legs around and behind us, and we'll come into an all fours position here. So have your palms nice and flat. We already did that seated cat-cow. So let's take our right leg and reach it out behind us, pressing the ball of the foot into the floor, and just start to push front to back through your foot here, stretching through the bottom of the foot and the back of the leg. And a lot of times we might have tight calves, which kind of limits the rest of our leg in the flexibility and in the movement because it's all connected. Good. And then let's take the leg up to hip height here. So just reach it out and feel that abdominal lift up and in. Let's bend the knee here. And so just kind of holding in this position, making sure your knee isn't going out to the side, but it's staying midline. And you can take your left hand and reach it out in front of you if you want. Or maybe lengthen it out by the ear, pushing into your right hand that's on the ground. And then if this feels good, maybe reaching your left arm back behind you, just finding this opening through the front of the shoulder, the front of the hip. And if your range of motion allows, pushing the foot into the hand and opening here. Thinking of focusing on mostly opening through the hip flexors, pushing into your right hand, breathe. And then slowly unfold arm and leg. Keep your leg extended as you set it down, and let's stack the left hand underneath the shoulder. You're going to pivot your left leg out to the side, and you're going to plant your right heel down and lift yourself up into a gate pose here. So you'll be facing the long edge of your mat. We'll reach the hand down over the extended leg and then reach up and over. Good. And then we're going to come all the way so your hand touches the floor, and then reach the other hand up and over, finding a side body stretch in this direction. Imagining the side of your rib cage touching the ceiling. And then push the floor away. Lift yourself up one more time, reaching over your extended leg. And then up and over, plant the the hand down. Reach the arm up and over. And from here, come into a balancing modified side plank. So your knee stays bent, but you can lift the leg up to about hip height. Good. And maybe, I kicked my lantern. You can bend the knee and reach the hand for the top of the foot, pushing the foot into the hand, opening through the chest, really opening through the hip flexors here. And then on your inhale, slowly releasing, unfolding arm and leg, setting the toes down, setting the hand down, and releasing through center. And let's go to the other side. So now your left leg reaches out and just push front to back through the bottom of the foot, stretching through your toes, stretching through the arch. Really spread the fingers nice and wide. Making your way back to center here, really push into the ground. Lift the leg up to hip height. Bend at the knee, trying to just find that 90-degree angle. And slowly reaching your right fingers out. They can stay on the ground. They can lift up, bicep by the ear. And then slowly start to reach your arm out, around, and behind you, thinking of opening through the front of the chest, keeping your back leg lifted. Maybe the foot and the hand connect, pushing the foot into the hand, helping to open up along the front of the leg. and finding your breath, using the floor to help you, pushing in with the knee and with the hand. And then very gently unfolding arm and leg. Okay, you can set your hand down, set the toes down. You're going to pivot your kneeling leg and plant your heel down. I'm just going to turn so that way I can still see the camera. And then we'll reach ourselves up. So you should be facing the other long edge of your mat now, reaching up and over your extended leg, trying to maybe look underneath your arm up towards the ceiling. On an inhale, reach through center, plant the right hand down towards the floor. Left arm reaches up and over, looking up towards your hand. Inhale, lift up through center one more time. Lengthen up and over your extended leg. And then lift up and over, plant the hand down, finding our side plank here. Lifting the leg up, finding a hover. And then bending the knee, reaching back foot to hand, pushing the foot into the hand, opening through the front of the chest. And then gently unfolding, reach arm and leg long and lift yourself. We're going to be turning back through center, into our all fours. And let's take a brief moment in our child's pose here, resting your forehead down to the ground. On your inhale, press the palms into the ground, tuck the toes under, and then start to lift your hips back and up for a downward facing dog. Settling into your down dog here in whatever way that's comfortable for you, pedaling out through your heels, pressing the ground away, looking towards your inner thighs, towards your navel. And then on your inhale, looking up between your thumbs and trying to step really slowly. So we're getting our hamstrings engaged, like just really walking your feet forward. Thinking like a penguin walk, all the way to the top of the mat. Inhaling to lift up halfway, lengthen, and then think exhale and fold deeper. So I like to, for my first forward bend of the class, I always like to keep my knees a little bit more bent, so that way I can really make sure I'm not bending from my low back, and I'm getting my hips and my pelvis in the right position, because a lot of times, especially if you know your hamstrings are tight, your body will compensate somewhere else. One more time. Inhale to lengthen, draw the shoulders down the back. Exhale to pull in even deeper, think nose towards your knees. And then on our inhale, we'll reach the hands out to the side, slowly lift yourself all the way and up, palms touch overhead, and then draw down to the center of your chest. Taking a moment to ground yourself, connect to your intention. Okay, we're going to flow through a few vinyasas to help warm up through the body. So on your inhale, reach around and up, look up, press the hips forward, and then exhale, fold forward and down. And something that might help with working towards handstand as well is I used to always kind of keep my hands forward, but if you try and think about lining your fingers up with your toes, it helps you get like the connection between your abdominals and your thighs, which is helpful if you want to work on pressing into arm balances. So we're here, we'll step one leg back and then the other, meeting into our plank pose. Really press the ground away strong, and we'll lower the knees down, or you can keep them lifted. And we'll lower down to the ground on an exhale. Inhale, roll the shoulders back, lift up, baby cobra. And then lower down, press the ground away, lift back and up, downward facing dog. Good. So while we're here, let's take the right leg and lift it up towards the ceiling, bend into the knee, and we'll start to just make some circles here. And thinking about trying to only move the right leg and not let the rest of your body wiggle as well. And then reverse the direction, circling the other direction. And if this You can always come down to all fours as well if you feel like this is a lot on your shoulders or your wrists. Okay, and then let's reach the right leg out nice and long. And then step the right foot down next to the left, and we'll do that little penguin walk forward. So think of walking your feet forward, forward, forward to come in line with your fingers if possible, or just as far forward as your body will allow. We'll inhale to lift up halfway. Exhale, fold. Really use your abdominals to pull in deeper. And then on your inhale, reach around and up, palms touch. And then hands draw down to the center of the chest, shoulders down away from your ears. Feeling rooted through the feet. Kind of noticing your abdominals are helping to lift your front of the body up, and you're relaxing through the low back so your tailbone can drop down. Inhale, reach the arms around and up, look up. Exhale, fold forward and down. Hands try to come in line with the toes. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Stepping back one foot and then the other, meeting in your plank position. Pushing into the ground. Feel your shoulder blades on your back. You can keep the knees lifted or lower them down. Exhale to lower with control. Inhale, scoop through cobra, up dog. And then exhale back to your downward facing dog. And then let's take the left leg up towards the ceiling. Just really reach it long. Push through your hands. Don't forget about the upper body. Bend into your left knee and start to make some circles here, trying to keep the rest of the body as still as possible. And then reverse the direction of the circles. Thinking about just moving from the left hip and then reach the left leg out long and set the left foot down next to the right. Look up between your thumbs and start to take that penguin walk again. So walk your feet forward, trying to walk the toes up in line with the fingers. We'll inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold even deeper. Inhale, reverse your swan dive. Come all the way up. Palms touch and draw down to the center of the chest. Walking your feet all the way together. So the big toe mounds touch. Roll the shoulders back and down. Reach your hands down by your sides. Bend into the knees. Reach the fingers for the floor. And then inhale, reach the arms up, coming into our chair pose, Utkatasana. Exhale, fold forward and down. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Walk, step, hop back to your plank. Exhaling to lower with control. Inhale to scoop through cobra, up dog. And then exhaling back to your downward facing dog. So right from our down dog, let's inhale the right leg up towards the ceiling. Exhale, draw the knee towards the nose. Step the foot between the hands. Your back heel can stay lifted, or I would like you to try and drop it down if your flexibility allows. We'll inhale, reach up for a warrior one. So ideally the palms will touch overhead. And then as you exhale, reach the hands down, one on either side of the foot. Step the feet back, so we're in that plank pose again. So you have options here. You can hold in plank. You can take a vinyasa, or you can just meet in downward facing dog. So you can exhale to lower, inhale to scoop through, and then exhaling back to your downward facing dog. We got to do our warrior one on the other side. Left leg reaches up. Draw the knee in towards the nose. Try and step the foot between the hands. Back heel can lower or stay lifted. Reach your hands up. Generous bend into the front knee, and I'm trying to square my hips towards the front corner of the mat as best I can. As you exhale, release the hands down on either side of the foot. Step your foot back, coming into your plank. You can hold here or exhale, lower down. Inhale, scoop through. And then back to your downward facing dog. Or you're always welcome to hold in child's pose. This one we're going to be holding for a little bit longer. And just finding your breath, allowing your heart rate to settle down. Okay, so this time when we come forward, we're going to add some flair to our penguin walk. So we're going to do this really exaggerated. You're going to lift one leg up as high as you can, and then step it forward. And then lift your left leg up as high as you can, and then step it forward. Think of it like a stiff leg walk, like you can't bend your knees, so you're just lifting your leg up, step it forward, and lift the other leg up, and step it forward. So we're stretching through our hips and our hamstrings every time until eventually your feet meet at the front of your mat. Inhale to halfway lift. Let's have the big toe mounds together. Exhale, fold. We're going to come up through our chair pose. So bend into your knees, sit the hips down, lifting up, chair pose, Utkatasana. And then inhale to stand all the way up nice and tall, palms draw down to the center of the chest. So we're going to do that one more time. Inhale at the top. Release your hands down by your sides. Bend into your knees, reach your hands down low. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, fold forward and down. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Step back one foot and then the other, coming into your plank position. Exhaling to lower down with control. Inhale to scoop through Cobra Up Dog. And exhale back to your downward facing dog. Going right to, let's do the left side first this time. Left leg reaches up towards the ceiling. Draw your knee in towards your nose, foot between the hands, back heel down. Inhale to reach the arms up. Exhale, float the hands down on either side of the foot. So it's kind of fast, one breath, one movement. That's okay. You're going to press your hands down and meet in our plank. You can take your vinyasa, exhaling to lower. Inhale, open through the chest. And then exhale, press the ground away, meet back in your downward facing dog. Okay, now our right side. Inhale, reach the right leg up. Exhale, draw knee to nose. Set up for your warrior one. And then take one nice long inhale to lift, lengthen, reach through the arms. And then an exhale to float the hands down on either side of the foot. Step back to your plank position. And then you can hold or exhale lower. Inhale, scoop through, open through the chest, and then meet back in your downward facing dog. So this is our opportunity, our active rest to kind of reconnect our breath, our mind, our body together. And then start to take those exaggerated stiff leg penguin walks. So one leg reaches up really high, and then I just bent my knee there because of those little tree limbs, but reach the other leg up really high, and then step it forward. And your leg doesn't have to lift very high. It's wherever you feel a stretch in your hamstrings. So you're just working with whatever range of motion you have. And then over time, you slowly become more and more flexible. So just not judging wherever you are today. We'll have both of our feet at the front of the mat for our forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. And we'll lift up through our chair pose. So bend into the knees, reach the arms up, look up. Good. And then we'll stand up nice and tall, draw the hands down and together into the center of our chest. Okay. So if you're not as Kathy, you'll be fine, but this is more so for people who might be watching this later. You might want to strap or a towel or something like that for this next series. So what we're going to do, you're going to stand onto your left leg, and you can start by hugging your right knee in towards your chest. And then you can work towards taking your peace fingers towards your big toe and pressing your foot into your hand. So if that's not really accessible for you today, you can use a strap and push the foot into the hand. But there's also the option where if you can grab your big toe and hold here, like start here, and then slowly work towards extending out foot into the hand. And the idea is that this is a circuit. So you're pushing your foot forward, you're pulling your shoulder back, your abdominals are engaged, you're pushing your standing foot into the floor, and that's always been the hardest part for me. And then let's take the leg out to the side, reach, 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 And we'll draw the leg back to center here. Okay, we're going to bend slightly into both knees because we're going to fold forward here and take this right leg that was lifted and step it behind us so we're in a lunge with the left leg forward and the right leg back. Inhale to reach your arms up, coming into this nice long lunge. We're going to do a little bit of chest opening. So pull your elbows down and back, open through the chest, and then inhale, reach up. And exhale, pull down and back. You can kind of bend deeper into both of the knees, and then inhale, lengthen, reach the arms up. One more time, pull, open. Good, and then let's reach the hands down on either side of the foot. We're going to walk our hands out about like 6 to 8 inches or so in front of our leg. And we're going to bend into our back knee and then just kind of kick up here, lifting our leg up. And then come back down into that lunge. So lower down and then push and lift. So it's the same sort of action as when we were standing. We're going to do this one more time. Go from our lunge and then lift up. So we're actively stretching through the legs. We're getting our hamstrings to activate, to hold some of our weight, but also to lengthen. So from here we have different options, and if you're not quite as flexible, you might even want some blocks underneath your hands to just kind of help you feel more stable here. If you're feeling really good, you can start to walk your hands back towards your foot and maybe draw the nose to the knee and reach the leg up even higher. But just always listen to your body, and especially if you feel any sort of sharp sensation, that's a sign to just back off. Take one more deep breath. And then let's set the right leg back and down behind us. Plant the hands down. Step the left foot back to meet the right into your plank. You can go into your down dog, or you can take a vinyasa here. Exhaling to lower down. Inhale to scoop through. Open through the chest. And then exhale back to your downward facing dog. Holding here, collecting your breath. Let's heel toe our feet just a little bit wider here, and then start to walk your hands back towards your feet. So now we're towards the back edge of our mat. We're kind of in this forward folded position. Let's bend our knees, coming into a yogi squat here. And then you can press the palms together, press your elbows into your knees, just trying to open up through the chest a little bit and lengthen and release through the low back and the outside of the hips. We'll slowly release the hands down in front of us and find more of a rounded spine. Think chin to chest and just reach your hands out. Trying to notice where you can let go. Finding the surrender here. Through most of the other poses, we were actively pushing or pulling our body in a different direction. So just maybe finding a sinking feeling here, releasing into the floor. Walk your hands back in underneath your shoulders. Lift your hips up. We'll walk our hands out towards the front of our mat, coming back into our downward facing dog. Walk your feet in. And then find that little fancy penguin walk forward. So one leg reaches up and then step it forward. And then another leg reaches up and step it forward. And this can be as many or as few steps as you like. If you really hate these, you could maybe find a way to only do like 2 steps forward. It's up to you. Once we get to the top, we'll inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold, deepen. And then on your inhale, reach your hands around and up, palms touch, and draw down to the center of the chest. So maybe grabbing that strap again if you found it useful on the first side. We'll be standing on our right leg, and we'll be lifting our left leg up, so you can start by hugging the knee in towards the chest. And then maybe take the peace fingers towards the big toe. maybe you stop right here. There's still a lot of work going on straightening this leg, the standing leg, or you can straighten out into your left leg and finding this connection, shoulder pulling back, pushing out into your left leg, and then also pushing into your standing leg and feeling the weight coming into the ball of the foot. A lot of times we kind of like hang out back here because it makes our egos feel better. You feel like you can get your leg up higher and it's easier to hold. So push yourself into the uncomfortable zone where you're reaching forward. We'll open the left leg out to the side here. And for this, you have to ground even more into your right leg. Breathe. We'll draw the leg back to center. We are very slowly going to kind of fold forward, and if you can, keep your left leg hovering off the ground. If you're holding onto the strap, release it. So now we are in a lunge with our right leg forward and our left leg back. We'll inhale to lift ourselves up, so we're going to do that little chest opener. You guys, you can stay on the right side. Inhale, reach your arms up, and then exhale, pull down, open through the chest. And inhale, reach up. Exhale, pull and open. One more time. And pull and open. We'll reach our hands down on either side of the foot. Walk your hands out a little bit in front of you, actually, and then lift your leg up, finding like a standing split stretch. And then bend into your standing knee, kind of walk it back. And spring yourself forward. Use your abdominals, push into the floor, lift up. And lower back down. One more time. Press forward, push into the ground, lift off, and then find your standing split. So it could be here with your hands on blocks, fingers on the floor. You can start to walk your hands closer to your foot, and that's part of the secret to getting your leg up higher. If you ever look at like dancers or gymnasts who have like this 180-degree line here, their nose is kissing their knee here because that's the only way to get your leg up. Also, you can play around with squaring and turning out through the hips. So at a certain point, you're not able to get your leg any higher with square hips, and you have to turn it out a little bit so you can kind of feel the difference between those two. Take one more deep breath. And then we'll lower the back leg down, press your hands into the mat, and we'll step back into our plank position. Exhaling to slowly lower. Inhale, lift cobra, up dog. And then exhale back to your downward facing dog. And let's actually take a moment to lower our knees down to the ground and sit our hips back onto our heels, coming into a child's pose, reaching your arms out long in front of you. Focusing on deepening the breath and breathing into the back side of the body. Okay. And so on our inhale, let's come into an all fours position. And let's take the right leg forward first. So now that we did all that work for the legs, we're going to finally work ourselves into our Hanumanasana or our split position. So if you have blocks and if you know you're on the less flexible side, they're definitely really helpful. You could also use a stack of books. If your palms or your fingers can touch the ground, but you can stay there as well. So let's start by leaning forward and opening up and finding this line here. So in your lunge, if you're not able to press forward and find like this 180 degrees here, that's probably something that you want to work on to work towards getting your splits if you're like a little bit back here. But if this is good, it just might be your hamstrings need to open up a little bit more. And then let's slide back into our half split or Ardha Hanumanasana. And I really like to flex through the foot to keep the hamstrings active. And fold forward here. So think nose to knee, reach down. And then we'll draw the shoulders back and lift up, making this an active position. So think round forward, nose to knee. And then pull the shoulders down the back, lift up. One more time. Exhale, reach forward. And inhale, roll the shoulders back. Okay. So now, this is where the blocks are probably going to be the most useful. We'll start to slide our legs away from each other. And so your version of a split can look like this for a very long time, and that's okay. You want to work towards sliding down to the ground, and you want to try and keep your hips as square as possible for as long as possible. It's just a lot better for your low back and your SI joint. If you let your hips twist immediately, you're going to be putting more pressure on one side of the body than the other. And it's not very pretty to do this with flexed feet, but I feel like I get a deeper stretch if I flex my front foot and tuck the back toes in my left foot under, but you can try it either way. And if you're really wanting to work on flexibility, what I would suggest is set a timer for 30 seconds and make sure you're kind of you warm up your body first and then hold the stretches for about 30 seconds and really consciously breathe the whole time to give your muscles a chance to relax. And you could even repeat that a couple of times. We'll take one more deep breath here, really push up through the legs. And then start to push into your hands and lift yourself back, first into your half split. You can move your blocks out of the way. We're going to bend the knee and come forward, bringing both arms on the inside of the leg. And you can let your leg walk out to the side and find an opening through the outside of the hip. If you want to come down to your forearms, you can do that as well. Thinking about lengthening through the spine here, not letting your head collapse, but keeping it lifted. And if you are on your forearms, let's walk up to our palms. We'll slide our right leg back to meet the left into this all fours position. And then let's go to the other side. Left leg steps forward. And we'll find our lunge, our Anjaneyasana here. So trying to find that straight line from knee to knee in this position first. And this is really just mostly telling you if your hip flexors are ready for the splits. So if you have 180 degrees here and you're like, well, I still can't do a split, it's probably that your hamstrings are kind of the limiting factor. Pulling the hips back, moving into our Ardha Hanumanasana, our half split. One leg is straight and our hips are stacked over our knee. You can flex through your foot. Rounding forward, think nose to knee. And then as you inhale, roll the shoulders down the back, lift, extend, lengthen through the spine. Exhale, round forward. And then inhale, pull the shoulders back and lift. One more time, rounding forward. And then pull the shoulders back and lift. So this is telling you, this gives you a lot of feedback on where your hamstrings are at for today. And then we'll start to slide it out. So I like to tuck my toes, my back toes under, and then push out, finding your split position. And with every yoga posture, there's always somewhere new to go, and it changes day to day. So for example, probably 10 years ago, I could do a flat split to the ground, no problem. I didn't even have to warm up. And now I'm a few inches off the ground just because I don't do this pose a lot anymore. And also, it's once you have a split, then you work on getting your over splits, or you work on being able to stand and hold a split, with your nose to your knee. So it's a constant practice, and trying not to make a particular pose the end all be all, but just really enjoying the journey and the process, which is so much easier said than done. I feel like half the reason why I don't do splits anymore is because I know I can't do them, and it's frustrating. And continuing to breathe. I'm trying to let your shoulders relax down. Let's take one more deep breath. And then push the ground away. Pull back to your half split first. You always want to be careful coming in and out because that's really where the most injuries tend to happen. We'll bend our knee coming forward and then move into our lizard just to kind of strength, like open up through the sides of the body. You can come down to your forearms if you like, lengthening through the back of your neck. Now let's walk back up to our palms. Step one hand on either side of the foot. Tuck your back toes under, lift up. Let's step it back through to a plank position. If you want to, exhale, lower down. Inhale, scoop through. And then we'll meet back into our downward facing dog. On an inhale, take your left leg up towards the ceiling. Draw the knee in towards the nose and step the foot between the hands. Let's walk our hands towards the midline, pivoting your feet so you're to the long edge of your mat. Inhaling to halfway lift, and then exhale to fold forward and hold it here, pressing through the outer edges of your feet, reaching for the back of your legs and trying to pull yourself deeper here. Taking your hands from wherever they are and let's place them underneath the shoulders, and you can come up to palms or fingertips or maybe to blocks if you have them nearby. Let's keep our right hand down and really think about, so your hips are going to want to kind of do this tilty thing side to side. Keep them centered and reach your left arm up, look up towards your palm, trying to rotate through your upper back around your rib cage. And then exhale, left hand comes down and let's twist to the right. Keep your hips centered, reach your right hand up. Breathe, breathe, reach, open. Good, and then back to center. Okay, now we can try and deepen it if that felt good. So take your right hand and reach for the outside of your left leg and then reach your left arm up. Think pull this right hip back even more because it's going to want to shift into the center. Really pull it back. Take one more deep breath here. And then back to center. Take your left hand, reach it to the outside of your leg, and then reach your right hand up. Pulling the left hip back into place. And this is just to equalize out through the hips because we did a lot of motion front to back. So we want to even it out with some side to side stabilization. And then bring the hands back down to center, bending into your left leg and sinking down, coming into our Skandasana, our little side lunge squat. And you can set your heel down maybe if your range of motion allows, and we're going to take a little twist here as well. So you can plant your left hand down, reach the right arm up, and maybe even take that hand into your back pocket. And if your body allows, you can also reach around and maybe try to bind, clasping fingertips, but it's most important that you can keep your chest open here. On your next inhale, release the arms out and down. Push into the floor, lift up and over to the other side. Sit the hips down, your heel can be lifted, or maybe you see if you can sink back and lower it down just for added stability. We'll have our right hand pressing down, and then inhale, reach the left arm up and open. You can tuck the hand around into your back pocket, or maybe find the bind trying to keep the rotation here if you can. And then on an inhale, reaching back up. Press the palms down. Push back up to center. We're going to turn towards the front of the mat. Step your right foot forward to meet your left. Bend into your knees and slowly come all the way down to have a seat onto your mat. We'll bring the soles of the feet together, knees out wide to the side. Inhale to sit up nice and tall. And then exhale to fold forward and down. And so something interesting I've noticed is that most people tend to either have a lot of range of motion naturally, like in their turnout out to the side, or in kind of like this front to back direction. So like for me, I've always had pretty open hamstrings, but my outer hips have been tight, so I don't think there'll ever be a day where my knee is fully pressed down to the ground. But there's some people that have never even done this pose before and go right into it, and their body just opens up. So one of the great things about yoga is you can kind of notice what your body's natural tendencies are and then try to work with that, and you'll find out what your specific strengths and weaknesses are, which, I mean, we all have different ones. And you could just work on that. On an inhale, we'll sit up nice and tall. Let's take the left leg out in front of us here. We'll take our right ankle and cross it up on top of your knee here, thinking of making this figure 4 shape. If this doesn't feel good for your body for whatever reason, you can place the sole of the foot against the thigh. Flexing into your left leg, inhale, reach your hands up. And then exhale, fold forward and down. So this is kind of another little like test. If you feel this a lot in your hamstrings, you'll probably want to just lift up a little bit because you mostly should want to be feeling this through the outside of your hip. So it's a little test to kind of see, are your hamstrings tighter or are your outer hips tighter? Or maybe you're like, wow, both of them are really tight. And just breathe into whatever sensations you're feeling. You want to feel like your low back is long. That's definitely a place you don't want to feel it at all. If you feel a little bit into your hamstring, that's okay, and mostly through the outside of the hip. And maybe if your hands can reach beyond, you can take one hand and reach for the wrist of the opposite hand. Take one more deep breath here. And then on an inhale, lift yourself back and up. Okay, now we're going to do, I really don't like this pose, but it's good for us. We're going to do fire log. So you're going to keep this cross of your ankle over your knee, and you're going to drop your knees out to the side. So ideally, your legs would be stacked on top of each other, kind of like if my arms were my legs, that's how this would be. And you want to make sure you're not sickling through the foot or breaking your ankle here. It should be in one line. And then you can sit up, or if you're comfortable here, you can start to reach forward, and then you'll really feel the outside of your hips. And if this is just not working out for your knees or your hips, you can go back to the figure 4. On an inhale, let's walk back up to a seated position. Extend both of your legs out in front of you and just shake it out a little bit. Maybe windshield wiper the legs. And we'll go to the other side, crossing your left ankle above your right knee or taking the Janu Shirshasana option if this doesn't work for your body. Inhale, reach your hands up and fold forward and over. Feeling this mostly through the outside of the hip, through the hamstring a little bit, definitely not in the low back. If you feel in the low back, maybe lift up a little bit, or you could also even just bend your knee here and lean back if you feel it a lot in your lower back. And you can maybe start to work towards grabbing onto the wrist as well if you feel like that's appropriate. We'll slowly release, start to walk the hands back in towards your hips, sit up tall. Moving into our fire log on this side, so you'll bend your bottom knee in, turn it out, and ideally try to find your shins stacking on top of each other. And if you want to, you can start to walk your hands forward and out. And every time we find stillness in a pose, it's an opportunity to connect deeper with the breath and let the thoughts just kind of stay out to the side. That's usually in these moments of stillness where our own thoughts start to creep in. So just focus on the sensations in your body and your breathing. Slowly start to walk our hands back in towards the hips, lifting yourself up, uncrossing your legs, scooting towards the top of your mat, and we'll slowly lower ourselves down one vertebra at a time. Until you're all the way down onto your mat. From here, hugging the knees in towards the chest, giving them a good squeeze, shoulders pulling down your back, neck is long. And then let's keep just the right knee in, reach your left leg out and away. Right leg can lengthen up towards the ceiling. And I like to bend my elbows out to the sides as I pull and think about pulling my shoulders down the back also. And so you might notice that your leg can come a little bit closer to your face. You also want to watch out for any arching in your back. So for the longest time, it wasn't this bad, but you can kind of cheat and arch your back and then your leg comes closer, but you're not truly doing anything that's going to open up the back of your leg. So think really press your butt down into the floor and then reach your leg out. And then let's take this right leg and cross it over towards the left side. So I'm going to take my left hand, grab the outside of my foot, and then open my right arm out and look towards the right palm. And take the leg back to center here. We'll slowly let it float out and away, and then right knee comes in towards your chest. You can straighten out through the leg, maybe grabbing behind the calf or towards the foot. Thinking about pressing the butt down, reaching your legs away from each other, so even the bottom leg is engaged here. Let's take the left leg across the body and over to the right as you reach your left hand out. And draw the leg back to center. If you feel there are any other poses that your body needs, if you just need to hug your knees in and rock side to side a little bit a couple times, take about 30 seconds or so and just honor whatever sort of movement you need to make. And then when you feel ready, you can extend your arms and your legs out and find your corpse position. If you feel more comfortable taking a seated meditation, you could do that instead. And also, if if you're congested or for whatever reason having trouble breathing, sometimes it's more comfortable to lie on your side during Shavasana. Find somewhere you feel at ease. Allow your breath to become more shallow, feeling like you're hibernating. And so the purpose of our practice is to help open up through the body, allowing the blood to flow freely, and thinking of that as like it's like an extension of our prana. So in yoga, your prana, your life force, your energy is your breath. And on a physical level, that exchanges becomes part of you into your tissues and then circulates through the body. So by opening up any tight muscles we have, we are physically making more space for the blood to flow through our bodies, a little bit more freedom. If you have bad posture even, it can affect the blood flow to your brain and make you feel tired. So really just knowing you did something good for yourself and allowing yourself to absorb all of the benefits for these next few moments. reawakening by drawing the breath in with a little bit more intensity, allowing your breath to take up more space, allowing that to re-energize you. Starting to move the fingers and the toes. And then on an inhale, reaching your arms long overhead. We'll sweep our hands around and you can hug the knees in towards your chest, maybe rocking side to side. Eventually rolling over onto one side. And gently helping yourself up to a comfortable seated position. We'll draw the palms together at the center of the chest, bowing our heads in gratitude to ourselves for making this time to show up. The light within me honors the light in each one of you. Namaste.